Hello guys, my name is Mia Marie, and you are currently watching my Synastry Compatibility series where I go through all the 12 signs, sun signs, and how they get along. Now, as a general disclaimer, we reference so much more than just the sun sign for compatibility, but the importance of the sun and understanding someone's sun sign and accepting it and supporting it is that the sun sign describes the motives, the behaviors, the experiences that contribute to someone's sense of sanity. So we're not talking so much about what someone needs emotionally or how they flirt or what makes them great in bed, all of those very, romantic topics. We're talking about how to support someone's vitality, someone's sense of self, and someone's healing human journey. So keep in mind that this is just a gentle introduction, and you can get so much more by booking a session with me or another fantastic astrologer. Someone who is born with their sun in Libra is here to establish wholeness through cooperation in effort to reach spiritual enlightenment or a higher state of consciousness. So they take Gemini's curiosity, information, and perspective and go, okay, cool. I have enough information to work with, but what do you think? I would like to hear who you are and what you're doing and why you're doing it. They're very focused on the other. It's important to understand that the sun in Libra is debilitated, which means that it's not born really seeing itself clearly. It's similar to Leo, where it's a super social sign, but in order for it to understand what it likes, it needs to understand what it doesn't like. And it does that through engaging with you, through taking on your personality, through engaging in conversation with you. They discover who they are by communicating with other people. Communication is very important to Libra. They can even be over communicators in many situations in multiple people's eyes. And one of the biggest misconceptions with Libras is that they are balanced. That's what they're here to learn. And so oftentimes Libra's lives are very chaotic. It's almost like they were born with a scale that was broken, and they spend their entire life collecting tools to fix this inner scale. And so what Libra will do in their younger years, or if they are still in the process of developing, is they will fabricate peace. They will find a way to fabricate peace externally because their external reality is a reflection of how they feel inside. So there is no barrier there. So if people are fighting inside, they're uneasy. If the environment is ugly and the colors don't coordinate and things don't look good, they don't feel good. They feel dirty. And so what you'll catch Libra doing in moments of chaos is they will try to remedy the situation, to make the conflict go away as soon as possible, even if they're not being fully transparent. They will actually sacrifice their opinions and their thoughts and their wants just so we can move on, because it feels too destabilizing to them internally to sit with that conflict. As they get older, they obviously recognize that they're throwing their sanity on the line in the name of peace, but they rise to the occasion eventually and start to advocate for what true peace is. And that's being heard and received and having that same, compromising attitude reciprocated back. Libra is ruled by Venus, Aphrodite, and similar to Taurus, there is an affinity towards nature, but Libra likes to elevate it a little bit. It's like sophisticated art. It is sophisticated taste. It wants more than peace. It wants luxury, because luxury represents an elevated state of peace. And so they like quality things. They focus on name brands because the external creates the internal. So if they buy things of value, then they are of value. And you will find that they like going to art museums, or they like exploring the arts. They are into fashion or creating their own particular style because they need to engage in the mirroring process from an early age to understand who they are. They are gifted when it comes to understanding where someone stands, what they need, what they feel, and who they are. They can almost adapt the personality of the person that they are around, especially if they're around them for an extended period of time. They are the masters of love, and they are excellent at compromising, and they often lead with an air or a style of communication that is easy on the ears and the eyes, and it supports this urge in the rest of us to trust them. Like, here's this beautiful person who's talking so nicely, who's hyping me up, like, let me open up to this person. And they're really good at establishing trust. They have this social lubricant over them that allows them to fit into any environment that they choose. It makes them like social chameleons. They can go anywhere. They are gifted debaters, and they rule like the law. Judgment. I mean, normally when you think about law, you think about Saturn, but when you're in courts and someone is judging whether you're guilty or innocent, when you have to weigh information, when you have to put yourself in people's shoes and assess things in whatever way that Libra does it, they are the top performers. They know how to make a balanced, just call. Because Libra prizes a sense of elevated peace, because they like living the high, comfy life, they're not going to tolerate or appreciate someone who is rude or stirs up trouble. If you're taking them on a date and you're rude to the waiter, or you don't tip well, or you just tend to leave a bad taste in people's mouths, they're going to be repulsed by you because you're not a work of art. You're trash. Libra is also punctual. It likes being on time. Again, this is pure, undisturbed Libra energy. If you have other things in your chart, if they have other things in their chart, you might see them run late. But just the sun in Libra doesn't appreciate people who waste time, because they are a cardinal sign. This is someone who likes to accomplish things, who likes to stay on schedule. This is a leader. And so if you're not managing your time well, how well are you managing your life? And they don't like people who don't take accountability for themselves, because they are often the ones who pick up the slack. They are hard workers, they're reliable, like I said, they're leaders, and they like to show off the lifestyle that they have earned. So if you are someone that they can't show off, if you're someone who doesn't take pride over yourself, if you don't dress well, if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't groom yourself, if you have not graduated from a university, if you're not on their same level, they get very picky like that. It's like, no, you can't sit with us. Like, you can take your dropout ass over there. I'm being a little too mouthy for this, but They consider themselves to be socially elite, and they are. And they like to run with other successful people because it builds, to their vibe, to their look, to their lifestyle. Libras have been known to move slowly to the altar, and it's because they really appreciate their options. They're indecisive. That's something that I haven't mentioned, because they understand that when they choose one thing, that they're letting go of all of the other options. And so they want to make sure that whatever they commit to, whatever they choose, is the best option. And the sooner that they recognize that no decision is a decision, and that they're squandering their time and they're slowing down their own plans for the future, then the sooner they will make a decision. A hack to get a Libra to make a decision more quickly is to make a decision. And what I mean by that is, say, for example, you're dating a Libra and you're torn between Mexican and Italian for your dinner date. And you ask them, what do you want? They're like, I don't know. What do you want? Decide. Say something. Because right away, they're going to know whether or not they like what you chose. And then they will say, actually, no, Mexican sounds gross. Like, I had that yesterday. Like, let's have Italian. So yes, don't play that back and forth game, because like I said earlier, they need to, or they will need to hear your feedback to understand where they stand in a particular moment. As lovers, I would say that they appreciate words of affirmation. Like I said before, communication is the lifeblood to a Libra, so they appreciate you complimenting them, you paying attention to how much effort they've put into their outfit or into a meal or into making reservations. They need that feedback and they expect it, because that's what they're working on, that's what they're working towards. And they are programmed for partnership. They are excellent partners across the board, because there is this desire to meet you halfway it's not always presented through the other zodiac signs. Someone who is born with their sun in Aquarius has a soul that came into this world to awaken our consciousness. It's almost as if they have a different set of eyes than the rest of us. They see the world differently. And a lot of the time, stereotypical astrology is like, oh my God, you're trying to be different, or you're trying to be unique. No, that's just the way that they see the world. And often it creates this immediate recognition that you don't fit anywhere. Aquarius doesn't fit in any specific space, and it creates social anxiety. They don't know how to act. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. There is an ambivalence towards being around people because they don't quite, it doesn't compute in their head. Their minds are like computers. They are the 11th sign, which means that they are the third, the eldest air sign. So they take the perspective, the information that Gemini collects. They know that they have a mind. And then they take the information that Libra collects. They know how to put themselves in other people's shoes. They know how to compromise. They know how to negotiate. They know how to establish trust. And then they go, okay, how do we get everyone to trust each other? How do we create a community? And how do we develop this community? How do we transform our experience of life together? How do we elevate everybody? The interesting paradox with Aquarius is that they are knowledgeable. They're a resource. They have leadership skills. They are often the people that others go to when they don't know what to do as it relates to a community or group activity. They're human rights activists. They can find the gaps in structures. They know how to advance us in a very positive way, but they don't like being the center of attention. And oftentimes they don't like talking about themselves. They may feel internally like they don't want to attach to a label because they have a hard time accepting and celebrating the ego. They're the opposite of Leo. Leo is all about, here's my personality, here's how I shine. Aquarius takes that attitude but positions it towards the community. How can we shine? How can we develop? How can we be celebrated in the most honest and authentic way? And so you'll find that they're comfortable behind a computer or on a phone, but can be a little socially awkward. I think that they would feel socially awkward or as if there is never a place for them, even when they are in a community. And this feeling can be uncomfortable for them at first. It can manifest as social anxiety, and they may even avoid social situations depending on where they are inside of their head. But it serves a purpose. And that purpose is that you need to remain detached enough so that you can innovate, so that you can think your own thoughts, so that you can go off in your own direction. And oftentimes they're trailblazers, they're trendsetters. They are always 10 steps ahead of the community. And because they are also a fixed sign, they're stubborn, they are unmovable in that. They have to have a certain level of confidence in their ideas and opinions in order to say, no, I'm not going to conform. You are going to come here. And here's why you're going to come here. And this is how it benefits you. And this is how the human race is developing, whether you like it or not. They have this amazing ability to gaze into space and project a very clear image of a future that is totally within our capability. Like we can totally arrive to that space with them. I've said this and I will continue to say it, that even though Aquarius is an air sign, it is very sensitive, more sensitive than it realizes. And what happens when they're overstimulated is they become numb and they detach. This is the soul wound of someone who has strong Aquarius in their chart, because things are always changing and because these changes affect so many people in so many negative ways that they feel equipped or responsible for repairing. They will detach from the part of themselves that cares just to stay afloat, just to stay with the changes in culture and society. And so there is this robotic tone to them, or there can be just an obvious lack of emotion. You can be struggling with something and you can be crying in front of them and explaining all the which ways that you're heartbroken or let down, and just the opposite. You could be super happy about something and there's this robot before you like, I understand. The way of loving is that they've often researched what you're going through and what's going on in your brain and how humans typically act and how to repair that specific thing. And so they're able to like spit back this report to solve your problem, but it can be hard for them to stay in the emotion or to sympathize with you. And it's not a reflection of how much they do or don't care about you. It's more so a reflection of their internal state of being. It's hard for them to access emotions. Surprisingly enough, however, they make excellent partners because they understand the Libra lesson of trust and compromise, but they also are not looking for something hot and fiery, that flirty fling that Gemini wants. They want a friend. They understand that if they are going to commit to something long term, they have to be with someone that they like. They don't have to have the same interests, but this person has to be stimulating and intelligent and good-hearted and good-spirited. They want to be with their best friend. That is their ideal partner. And so they may hesitate to commit. I haven't heard too many complaints about Aquarius people not getting into relationships, but when they do, it tends to last because they do think long term, and they often choose someone from I don't want to say non-emotional space, because the spirit, the soul does respond to people, but it's not so much about how you make them feel. It's that you guys are just so compatible with each other that it makes sense for you to be together. And that's why Valentine's Day surprises everybody that it's in an Aquarius season. But traditionally, that's when people were getting married. And statistically, Aquarians have the most success when they get married, because again, they marry for the right reasons. They're using their head and their soul together to make the just call. Aquarius and love, they will want to talk to you. They'll want to know what you're thinking, what you've learned, what is stimulating you. They're going to have those late night conversations. They're going to be very present with you. And again, not super emotional about it, but they are wanting to collect data on you. They're going to master you in one way, shape, and form. That's a kind of hidden quality to them, is that they're constantly collecting data on you. So they can put it into their computer and they know what to expect and they know what you want and they know where you are mentally, emotionally. And they're just so friendly. That's what it is. They're just so nice to be around. I don't have any complaints about an Aquarius. Now, some downsides to dating an Aquarius, or not downsides, but what they don't like, is they don't like somebody who is negative, emotional, or moody, because it flies in the face of their energy. And it's not so much that you affect their mood, it's like what you're saying and what you're doing is irritating and inefficient and a waste of time. And those are all things that they prize. They like being efficient. They like using energy positively. And if you're focused on things from the past or things that you can't control, then you're not making good use of this brilliant brain that you have. Another thing they won't like is if you're impolite or rude to other people, or if you don't care about social movements. If you are mispronouncing people's names after they've corrected you, if you're not in the know about what communities are working through what, or if you have a blatant disregard for the overall quality of humanity in people's lives, they will have no respect for you, because this is what their life is about. They are in service to people. They are trying to break the minds, the structures that keep us bound and limited and trapped in a pastime. And so you embodying that energy, it's like, oh my God, no, you're the enemy, you're the foe. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and Uranus. Uranus is the modern ruler, but Saturn is the traditional ruler. And so typically you have two types of Aquarius. And what's interesting is that they embody both of them at different times of their life. So either the Aquarius person comes in very quirky, atypical, doesn't fit in, and then as time goes on, they become more Capricorn-like. They're more serious and they're about the mission and the rules and following protocols. Or you have someone who ages backwards, who is all about the rules and tools and following what authority says and doing what you're supposed to do. And then they get really quirky in their older years. So it just depends. Now, going back to deal breakers, Aquarians are rebellious by their programming. They come into this world needing to stir shit up, needing to awaken our consciousness to pull us along. If it weren't for Aquarians, we wouldn't have women's rights. We wouldn't have gay rights. It's that energy that progresses us as the human race. And so if they are trying to rebel against a specific structure and they're starting to embody that rebellious energy, and you shun them and you further ostracize them, if you are not a friend or an ally in their development and experimentation, they're going to want to leave you, because they're stubborn. That's what they do. They dig their heels in. They won't be emotional about it. They won't yell at you. They won't raise their voice. They won't criticize you. They'll just sit you down and say, you know, this isn't working out. I don't think we're a good match. And they can do this because their passion is towards people, groups, social reform. And so they don't inherently want or see the need for a partner unless they have a partner who, is truly a partner and shows up for them and supports them. Then they understand the value of that relationship. But until that point, if you're just a nuisance, if you're just another critic, if you're just someone who makes them feel more weird than they already feel, what's the point of having you? See your way to the door. Thank you. Bye. I will say this though. One thing that I've noticed through working with clients with Aquarius placements is that once they are in a committed relationship and they have in their mind said, I'm going to be with this person for the long run, if they actually have married somebody and it's not working out, it can take them a long time to actually leave. And it's because they're committed. They're stubborn. They're a fixed sign. They often do what they believe in. And I think that's kind of the lesson that you learn when you're with these types of partners is Aquarians awaken to their own unconscious motives through these dysfunctional relationships. They self-actualize through these relationships that don't work. But that fixed quality allows them to stay in relationships that they would otherwise recognize as unhealthy. But all in all, Aquarius is a great partner in, I would say passion, I would say play, but it's neither of those. They're just a great partner to have in life because they will commit to you, they won't play games, and they are focused on something bigger than themselves at all times. They want to make an impact. They want to help us all grow and develop. Sun in Libra, Sun in Aquarius. Again, we have air and air. These are two people who generate energy by being out in the world. They wake up in the morning and they may feel rested, but they need to get their body in motion in order to light their pilot light. So this kind of flies in the face of what we would expect, right? We expect that when people wake up in the morning, they're rested and they're ready to go. And once they start moving, they start draining energy. So these two will use, create, spend their time and spend their energy in similar ways. There won't ever be, question around, well, why do we need to get up so early or why do we need to be on the move? No, they can totally run and have fun together. And I think that that is one of the challenge aspects is that Libra is the sign of partnership, companionship. The sun is debilitated when it's in the sign of Libra, which means that in order for a Libra to understand who it is, it actually needs someone around it to mirror back who it is. Now you've seen this, dare I even bring it here, you've seen this in Kim Kardashian, someone who is known as a fashionista, but the moment that her and Kanye got a divorce, it was like, oh my God, how do I pick this out? How do I do this for myself? And one of her greatest accomplishments that took her whole life, and I say that, with like love, and I think it's honest, I think she's being truthful, that it took her a long time to arrive to a place where she could see herself and define herself for herself, that there were multiple experiences that built up to that moment, and now she's kind of starting to get traction. And so what you can see with the Libra characters, they want to be around people all the time. They like being in a relationship. They're really good at relationships. They can put themselves in your shoes. They can predict what you're going to need, what you're going to want, what you're going to think. They also enjoy the finer things of life. They are ruled by Venus. And Aquarius is not so much of a... It's different. Aquarius likes to mob alone. It doesn't like closeness because if you're close to someone, then you kind of have to dabble into your humanness. And Aquarius likes to stay in its mind palace and it likes to stay focused on its goals. It distracts itself from itself by taking on big projects. And so Libra might, come off as a little codependent or needing more attention than Aquarius is comfortable with. Now, neither of them are too emotional, so it won't be like Libra is crying for attention, but it will be like the incessant, like, oh, constantly inviting you somewhere. Oh, this sounds like it'd be so much fun. Will you come with me? Will you come with me? And Libra can feel let down or as if it's not a priority. And because it's a people-pleasing sign, it won't necessarily call it out. It will bring it up in a very gentle, polite way, like that party was so much fun, but it would have been more fun with you, versus saying like, I want you to attend these things with me. And so that's kind of one way that they mismatch. And again, we are circling around this idea that we have two air signs. These are two people who can go on swirls in their mind. They're airheads. They're thinking different thoughts all the time, and they're brilliant in that way. It's because of the air element that we are differentiated from animals. But there is not a lot of emotion. There's not a lot of heart, and therefore there is not a lot of glue in these relationships. These two people may understand where the other person is at, and have respect for it. They can have conversations easily. They can talk for hours. They can finish each other's sentences. They know where each other is at just based upon the choice of words that they are using. I can see them being best friends. And at the same time, there is no friction in a positive way. There is no, smoke between the two of them. It's just, oh, okay, yeah, that's a great idea. Oh, yeah, that's cool. But have you thought about this? They can also have really great debates between one another, but it just doesn't feel inherently romantic. Now, if you were to have an Aquarius with Sagittarius placements, or a water rising sign, or there are ways to balance it out to where these two would function better together, because we just are lacking some kind of friction and glue. And you can do that by looking at your chart, or you can book a reading with me at wellandrising.com/services. But all in all, these two people feel like they are of the same song. They're here to do a similar type of work where Libra is trying to learn how to understand the other and understand itself through the eyes of the other. And Aquarius is trying to understand the other culture, what's on the other side of that wall, and how do we break down this wall. And so they are not two signs that are selfish. They are focused on, Libra's focused on other people, and Aquarius is focused on other communities. But the social perspective that Libra upholds will just kind of feel like, tiring to Aquarius. Like, why would I attend this social event when I could be working on my computer, working towards my goals? They have that Saturnian flavor to them. So yeah, these are just a couple of things that immediately come to my mind when I think about a Libra and Aquarius relationship. Keep in mind, there are 2,000 combinations per relationship. So if you would like to learn more, again, you can find me at wellandrising.com/services. Toodles.